Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans la Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know from my attempt at a French introduction that this is my series in which I use terre de Marseille or antique Italian decks to help me answer a question that I've pulled from my larger, primarily or mostly Rider-Waite-Smith based tarot spread for the week. So I do a large spread primarily based on or primarily using Rider-Waite-Smith cards to help us explore topics related to living an intentional life. And after reading that spread, I pull a question, because no answer is complete. I pull a question out of that larger spread, and I use Terre de Marseille, or antique Italian deck cards, to answer that question briefly. Yeah, usually a 3-card spread. I've gone to 6 cards, but generally it's a 3-card spread. And so that's what we're doing here. So this week's larger spread, I called it the Seed of Hope. It could also have been the Hopeful Seed, but I called it the Seed of Hope. It just sounded prettier to me. And it's a beautiful spread. It's a brand new spread, actually. I created a new spread for this lunar cycle based on the Ace of Discs card from the Tarot of the Holy Light. So if you want it, I highly recommend going to see that video first, so you know what this question is coming out of. If you want to go see that video, I will have a card up here for you to click on and hop over to that video. Take a gander at that, and then later come back to this one so you know where we're coming from. So I pulled from that larger video, I called the Seed of Hope, this question. It's a very short question. I know, pretty odd for me. It's a short and to the point question. How do we find hope when we are feeling deprived? How do we find hope when we are feeling deprived? Now that whole spread had a seed of hope running through it, but the last card, the Oracle Advice card, was the Hope card. And a lot of the rest of the spread was acknowledging those times when we aren't feeling all that happy with what's going on, when we feeling critical, when we are feeling bondage, when we're feeling that things are imperfect and not working out the way we think that they should be working out, etc., etc., etc. The last card was hope. It said, feel hope, know your hope, choose faith, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful suggestion, but how the F are we supposed to do that? We hear that a lot, right? Well, you've just got to hope. You've just got to have faith. Where the heck are we supposed to find that? Where are we supposed to excavate that faith or that hope? How are we supposed to excavate that faith or that hope? And I chose hope because that was the card. Again, how do we find hope when we are feeling deprived? The 5 of Discs card was part of that larger spread, that deprivation. How do we feel that? So, I will show you the question in written form, just so you remember it. Copy it down if you want. And then I will show you the three cards, only 3, that came as a response to that question. Here they are. This is a very, very new deck to my library. I deliberately choose that word, library, instead of collection. My library of decks, because they are books in card form that I choose to read from time to time. And I read them and reread them and reread them, right? So it's my library of cards, my library of decks. And this is a new deck to that library. And here is what the backs look like. This is a deck it's a facsimile deck created by the wonderful Patrick Valenza of Deviant Moon Incorporated. And, okay, so I told you that I use Tarot de Marseille and antique Italian decks. Now, antique Italian decks, that's a large category. Tarot de Marseille, for some, is a very specific kind of deck. For some, it's a little bit of a less specific kind of deck. I'm one of those less specific kind of deck people. For me, a Tarot de Marseille deck has to fall within a range of a kind of style. For some people, it has to have exactly these things in this shape. So, for some people, Tarot de Marseille and Swiss decks are a completely different beast. For some people, there's something called a Besançon. A Besançon Marseille is a region in France, and not all Marseille decks come from Marseille. Not all Besançon decks come from Besançon. But in the Besançon tradition, two of the cards are changed. Instead of the High Priestess, we have Juno. Instead of the High Priest, we have, we have Jupiter. Jupiter and Juno. Now, the king and queen gods of the Romans. No, the Greeks. The Greeks. The Romans are Zeus and Hera. Whoa, sorry. Time warp. The Romans are Zeus and Hera. The Greeks are Juno, Jupiter and Juno. That's it, Jupiter and Juno. So, that's another, some people consider them completely different. To me, they all fall within that same Tarot de Marseille grouping because generally the pips are basically the same shape. Sometimes the knobs on the wands cards are a little knobby and sometimes they're not knobby, but they're the same pattern to me. They're the same. Yeah, instead of the High Priestess, we have Juno. Okay, but it's basically the same thing to me. Maybe not to you. You do you, boo. To me, they all fall within the Tarot. Those all fall within the Tarot de Marseille family. And this deck is part of that side branch. That's that larger Tarot de Marseille family. This is from the Joseph. Now, pardon my French, or lack thereof. I'm going to try pronouncing this name. Joseph Henri Rochias. Probably Joseph Henri Rochias. And this is a deck that was originally produced in 1816 and was just recently purchased and photographed, and a facsimile deck was made by Deviant Moon Patrick Valenza. And this is from Switzerland. This is a Swiss deck. It's from Neuchâtel in Switzerland, and it's a beautiful, beautiful deck. You saw 3 of the cards. Lovely. So, if you want to get it, I'll have a link to the Deviant Moon website for you to go and purchase this deck if you like it. The price is right. The cardstock is a little bit thin-ish. I mean, it's not... I've had thinner, but it's a flexible cardstock. I'm not afraid to shuffle this. I riffle shuffled it, no problem. It's easy to see. I like it a lot. So, recommendation. I don't get any money if you use the link, just so you know. It's just there for your convenience. Okay, back to the reading. How do we find hope when we are feeling deprived? Frankly, when these cards came out, my first thought was the deck was giving me the finger. It was like saying, F you figure it out. Because what did we get? We got from left to right, we got the Chariot, the World, and the Two of Wands. And especially first when I saw how do we find hope? The Chariot. Succeed, success. The World, completion, fulfillment, success. That's how you find hope. I was like, well, yeah, of course, but that's not what we're talking about. It's when we're feeling deprived. When we're feeling deprived, we're not feeling successful. What the hell are you trying to say? But then that Two of Wands card knocked some sense into me. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. Now, the Two of Wands is what made me think, that's what you're trying to say. It's not about waiting till you succeed to find hope. And it's not really about faking it till you make it either. There are other ways of reading the Chariot and the World card. So, let's get into that right away. Let's start. I want to go from left to right. Now, yes, the charioteer seems to be facing off to the left a little bit, and the dancer in the World card is looking towards the chariot in this spread, but their body is facing to the right. There isn't a really, really strong need for it to go from right to left, is what I'm saying. And since the very right card is not a face card, it is a Two of Wands, I think reading left to right makes sense, especially for this spread. And we start with the Chariot. This guy. Beautiful card. Beautiful card. I love the horses. The lines are clean-ish. There are a couple of points in this deck where the black lines are a little bit smudged, a little bit mushed. But generally, this deck is really beautifully done. And beautifully done and preserved, because Patrick Valenza didn't make many changes to create this. It probably did some light balance in it, right? It did not redraw any of this, to my knowledge. So this is a very clean, well-preserved deck, and the facsimile reads very nicely. So yeah, we have the Chariot, number 7. Lucky card, right? Lucky 7. You see in the center of the card, we have the shield with J.R., Joseph Henri Rochas, the initials of the creator. Again, this is a Swiss deck. But we got all the general stuff. We got the curtains parted up at the top. They're not in a crinoline form, but they are parted. This is a bit of a type, well, it's a Swiss deck. It's a Swiss deck. So, the Chariot. Who is the Chariot? Generally victory, right? Victory, successful undertaking, clarity, direction, the conqueror. This is the conqueror on the victory march, right? So, how do we find hope when we are feeling deprived? Well, we come in the conqueror. We become victorious. Then we find hope. No, that's not what we're saying. That's not how we get there. It's not saying wait until you succeed. So then what else is possible? Well, the Chariot is also a traveling card for some. Yeah. But that travel doesn't have to be in the world either. There are many ways that we can understand travel. I mean, it is action in the world, so taking action, even though we feel deprived, can be a way for us to rediscover, to excavate our hope. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened for me. I've noticed it for myself, that there are times when I've been feeling nothing's working out and I feel stuck. But I find a manageable action or a series of manageable actions and I do it, and I notice that I'm able to do those actions, and I start to mine my own resources of hope. I discover the hope within me. It's slowly, but it happens. That's one way to do it, surely. It could also be a journey in the sense of a spiritual journey. This could be a spiritual journey from the dark into the light. To rediscover ourselves as conqueror, not journeying as the conqueror, but to rediscover ourselves as the conqueror. That spiritual journey of moving in the direction of the hope. That doesn't answer how exactly, but it is a reminder that it's a journey. There's also the other thing of the idea of harmony, of aspects of self. yeah, of animus anima, to go Jungian on us. Each of us, male beings, have an anima, the female part of their aspect. Female beings have an animus, the male aspect of themselves, according to Jung. And getting that masculine and feminine and non-binary of ourselves in alignment. Now, getting these two horses which look like they're pulling in different directions, to get these horses to move in the same direction. That could be the first step. Because when we're feeling deprived, our horses aren't moving in the same direction, right? We're being tugged in different directions. We're jostled. We're feeling unable to proceed. We feel our resources are weak or non-existent. And our first step might be to get our horses in a line, which takes an act of will, which is a little bit of a reminder from the larger spread for this week, which again reminded us, which wanted to point out to us that faith is not a passive thing. Faith is an active choice, and not an active choice that is done once, but an active choice that is continued. And that could also be this. Now, that choice, that active will to choose faith, to get our horses, our aspects of ourself in alignment, which is also part of another one of the cards from the larger spread. Getting our head, heart, and gut minds all together in one. Our mind is not only contained in our skulls. You know that, right? I hope you know that. Our mind is not only in our skulls. We have mind here, we have mind here, we have mind running through our entire bodies. And sometimes the brain and the heart are tugging in different directions, are moving differently. And the gut is moving in another direction. So this card could be reminding us to get those horses in a line, to get into alignment. That's the first step of how. To begin that spiritual journey towards hope. And so, what is the next card? It's the World card, which first time I saw it, I thought, yeah, screw you too. But that's not... Why? Because oftentimes the world is success, completion, fulfillment, happy outcome. So, yeah. Then you'll feel hopeful. When everything works out, then you'll feel hopeful. That's not what it's saying. But it's also the card of wisdom. So, yeah, are able to mine hope out of deprivation, feeling deprived, or out of our feeling of being cut off from other people. There's a word I'm looking for and it's not coming to my mind. That feeling of being, not disassociated, but of being locked out, of being deprived, of being cast out, exiled but not exiled. It's a word that starts with D. Maybe I'll think of it later. But that feeling, it's hard to mine hope out of that feeling, right? And it takes wisdom to be able to do that. It takes unity of self to be able to do that. Because it's that disorganization of self which is reflected in a feeling of being deprived. I was going to say depravity, which is different, right? That feeling of being deprived. It's also realization of potential. Yeah, the World card is perhaps the end of a series, but the series is not a end of a period. It's not a full stop. It's a comma. It's a pause before the beginning of a new cycle. So that's the potential for the next journey that we're going to be on, the next cycle that we're going to be on. And that's a recognition that is contained in this card. It's a realization of spiritual androgyny as well. That we are not male or female, we are both. We are that alchemical being. We are that alchemized being, which was also brought up in the bigger spread today. That and aspect of the megas in reverse is echoed in this card. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, go see the larger video, the larger spread. It's also the cosmic egg. Again, kind of an Ace of Pentacles thing, right? The Ace of Pentacles, a seed, a cosmic egg that will hatch. So we're growing, we're evolving, we're maturing inside of this egg, and that egg will break and we will be liberated into a new journey. So hope can be found in that as well. And sometimes we could feel stymied at this point, because being inside of the shell of the cosmic egg, however cosmic it is, it's still a shell, it's still confining. So we may still feel stymied, deprived, blocked. But something we can remember, that we're in this shell because we are about to be born. So something is about to be born. And in that recognition, we may start to feel a new taste of hope. Now, something else about this card is this figure in the center, in the shell, also has the 4 creatures, right? Which could be the 4 zodiac signs, the 4 fixed signs, I should say, of Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio. Could be the 4 winds. Some people call it the 4 winds, call it the 4 directions, north, south, east, west. Could be the 4 seasons, summer, winter, autumn, fall, autumn, spring. But they could also be the 4 elements, right? Fire. To me, this is water, this is air, and this is earth. Now, most people would not disagree about fire and earth. Some people disagree about these two. To me, the eagle is a symbol of Scorpio, which is a water sign. The angel is a symbol for Aquarius, which is an air sign. So anyways, you do you, boo. 4 elements. And then the 5th element, spirit. And it's that 5th element that is able to use the 4 elements to create. And that is a hopeful action, is it not? That ability to use the 4 elements around us to create a life. I also see that in this card. So, what do we have here so far? We had the Chariot, spiritual journey perhaps to hope. Harmonizing aspects of self so that we can do this work. If we don't get this done, if we don't do the harmonizing of self, we won't be able to start working with the elements around us. We won't recognize ourselves as spirit in this material realm of 4 elements, and that we have the hope of not only breaking out of our shell, but also becoming the megas and doing the work and creating a new life. And it's this card that reminded me of that. The 2 of Wands. Now, I know some people see this 2 of Wands, or bâton, and see it, okay, now wait a second. I said this is a Swiss deck, and generally, Swiss decks have knobbies at the top of these wands. Now, they have knobbies, they look like door handles at the tops and bottoms of the cards, round door handles. These look like Terre de Marseille wands to me. But still, it's a Swiss deck, so there you go. Anyways, so even in Switzerland, they do Terre de Marseille style wands. And yes, what was I saying? Yes, 2 of Wands. Some people see this as a big X saying no. I don't see this as a big X saying no. I see this as 2 passions that have crossed and flourished. See all that plant life growing out of them? This is a flourishing. This is planning. This is creative preparation. This is developing our abilities and developing courage. Now, the passions, the wands are our fire, our passions, our courage. Developing our courage as well as our abilities and our creativity. Our desires. Getting ready for our first experience. Sometimes we want to, especially if we've been feeling deprived, we want to work ourselves up to having that first experience. I mean, if we're free and open, we've already got our hope jam on, we don't need to build ourselves off. We get an idea and we think, well, let's do that, and we go that way, right? However, if we're in that feeling of deprivation, perhaps we want to to bring our desires together, to collect our desires, to have enough energy to do that thing. If that makes sense. This is also a gestation, a gestation of creative potential, which flows beautifully out of this card, right? So we're here in the egg, and we're gestating. We're bringing our desires together. We're discovering our creative potential. And we're preparing. And we're planning. And we're getting ready to burst forth and take that first step. And in that progression of getting it together, realizing our potential, though we might feel stymied, and bringing it all together in the two, planning, bringing our passions together, our courage together, getting ourselves geared up and ready. That's the discovery of hope, isn't it? It's also the discovery of excitement and joy, but it's also the discovery of hope from the midst of a feeling of deprivation. Does that make sense? I think this was a great reading, a wonderful reading. I mean, not reading here. I mean, a great answer to my question from the larger reading for this week. Makes sense. And again, at first glance, I was a little bit irritated by the deck because I really did feel like it was flipping me off at first. And it wasn't until I saw this, that idea of planning, that we're leading to planning. This is all in preparation for the planning. And it's in that moment I realized, these cards have another meaning. And so I got a little excited, and I'm still a little bit excited by that. Are you excited? Do you see that as an answer to that question? If you do, let me know in the comments below. If you don't, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Friends, if you're still here, hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you have liked this and other people might like it. It helps the channel. It helps bring eyes to the channel. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm still only able to do about 2 a week. I might eventually be able to do a third here or there. So if you want notification, hit the alarm bell. And comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you want a reading from me, I have my email address below. You can shoot me an email. I can read for you on Zoom, or just send you a video, or send you a photo and an email reading, whatever you want. We can work it out. So shoot me an email and we can get you a reading. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.